He came home at 5 every day. And even after he was gone, the cat still waited. Every evening, like clockwork, the old cat, Whiskers, would take his position. At precisely 5 p.m., he'd settle by the door, a fluffy sentinel in their tiny sun-drenched apartment. This was the magic hour. Soon he knew he would hear the faint jingle of keys, the familiar shuffle of tired feet on the worn welcome mat. Then, the rich, comforting smell of coffee would waft through the air, followed by the sight of his best friend, Mr. Harris, stepping inside. It was their sacred ritual, a silent agreement between man and cat. Mr. Harris would place his briefcase down, and his first act was always to reach for Whiskers, his large, gentle hand scratching that perfect spot behind the ears. Dinner would follow, a shared meal in the quiet companionship they had built over years. As the sun dipped below the city skyline, casting long, warm shadows across the floor, the two of them would sit together, Mr. Harris in his favorite armchair with a newspaper, and Whiskers purring contentedly on his lap. The world outside could be loud and chaotic, but inside their little haven, there was only peace. Whiskers lived for these moments. The rhythm of their life was as steady and predictable as the ticking grandfather clock in the hallway. It was simple, it was perfect, and Whiskers, ever faithful, never missed a single day of their shared routine. He was always there, waiting. But one Friday, the rhythm broke. The familiar symphony of their evening failed to begin. The grandfather clock ticked on, its soft, methodical sound suddenly feeling loud and hollow in the silent apartment. PM arrived, and Whiskers, as always, took his post by the door, his amber eyes fixed on the doorknob. He waited. 5:10 passed. His ears twitched, straining to catch the distant sound of footsteps. 5:30. The silence stretched, thick and unnerving. Outside, a gentle rain began to tap against the window pane, each drop like a soft, sorrowful drumbeat. Later, there were unfamiliar sounds. The neighbors, a kind-faced couple from down the hall, came by. Their eyes were red and swollen, and they spoke in hushed, somber tones. Whiskers watched them from his spot, his tail giving a questioning flick. He didn't understand their words. Complex, human sounds like hospital, heart, and the one that seemed to hang heaviest in the air. Gone. He only understood the simple, heartbreaking truth in front of him. The comforting scent of coffee never arrived. The sound of keys never came, and the door he stared at with unwavering hope, never opened. Days melted into weeks, each one a pale imitation of the last. The apartment felt different now, colder, emptier. Yet, one thing remained constant. At 5 p.m. sharp, every single day, Whiskers would pad silently to the door. He'd sit, a small furry statue of devotion, his eyes locked on the brass handle, his ears pricked and alert, listening for footsteps that never came. A new person lived in the apartment now, a young woman named Emily. She moved with a quiet grace, careful not to disturb the grieving cat. Sometimes, as she passed the waiting Whiskers, she'd whisper softly, "He's still waiting for you, isn't he?" She tried to offer comfort, placing a soft woolen blanket by the door to warm his old bones. But Whiskers remained steadfast, his gaze never wavering from his vigil. He would not be moved. Not until the clock struck 5:30. Only then, when a half-hour of silent hope had passed, would he let out a soft, resigned sigh. He'd then curl up on the blanket, a tight ball of fur, and finally allow himself to sleep, perhaps to dream of doors opening and familiar hands. One evening, as the shadows grew long, the clock chimed 5 once more. Whiskers was in his usual spot, a silent guardian of a memory. Emily looked up from her book, noticing how the light from the setting sun poured through the curtains, bathing the entryway in a breathtaking golden glow. It was a beautiful, almost magical light. At that moment, Whiskers raised his head, his old eyes fixed on the door with a sudden intensity. His tail gave a single, deliberate flick, and then something impossible happened. A gentle gust of wind, seemingly from nowhere, pushed the door slowly open, just a crack. Emily held her breath, a soft gasp escaping her lips. Whiskers got to his feet, his movements no longer weary, but filled with a serene purpose. He looked out through the open door, into the golden light beyond, and then, a sound Emily hadn't heard since she moved in, a deep, contented purr rumbled from his chest. It was as if, in that ethereal glow, he finally saw the person he had been waiting for all along. With one last look, he lay back down peacefully on his blanket. In the quiet that followed, the ticking of the old grandfather clock seemed to slow, each tick softer than the last, and then it stopped. A few days later, Emily found a small framed photo in one of Mr. Harris's old boxes. It was a picture of him and Whiskers, captured in a moment of pure contentment, the man's arm wrapped around his faithful companion. She hung the photo on the wall by the door, right beside the grandfather clock that no longer ticked. Its hands were frozen, eternally pointing to 5 by. Now, every evening as the sun sets, that same golden light still pours through the window, illuminating the little photo on the wall. And if you look closely, if you let your eyes soften in the fading light, you could almost swear you see 2 shadows there by the door, a man and his cat, sitting together again, finally at peace. Thank you for watching this story. If it touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content that celebrates the incredible bond we share with our animal friends. We'll see you in the next one.